Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to talk about a thought that I had when discussing Nikon. And I want to thank Chuck from AP Studios for inviting me to the live stream the other day. I really enjoyed it. Since I'm like 12 to 13 hours ahead of you guys, being in Southeast Asia, a lot of times I don't get to catch up on these things. It's night time for you guys. It's morning time for me. I'm running around, trying to do tours and whatnot. Anyhow, it was great interacting with everyone, and I love that kind of thing where we get to voice our opinion on how we feel about Nikon and what's going on in the industry. Let's just say Nikon, yes, is one thing, but you guys know I'm using the Sony cameras right now, but Nikon has been my camera of choice since 2003, and there's some things that made me switch over. Anyhow, you watch my other videos, you probably heard what I've said about that, so I won't go into that there. There's one thing I've been thinking about though, and that has been, why the Z6II hasn't been getting an update. We're all waiting for that Z6III and possibly a Z8, but something hit me the other day, and I thought about this for a second. Remember when Apple first came out with the iPhone? Everybody was rushing to get onto 3G and put their phone out there, and those of us who went and jumped on the bandwagon, we got devices that overheated and devices that would drain the batteries pretty quickly. And here comes Apple out of nowhere with this device that just blew everyone away. And I started to think, is Nikon doing something similar? I mean, I could be wrong, but with everybody else putting out cameras and so on, we've heard rumors about what could possibly be coming. We heard rumors that there's chip shortages or part shortages, which is why the cameras aren't out yet. But I remembered, I had a bunch of firmware updates for the Z6 that took it to much better performance than it had in the beginning. But we didn't get as much for the Z6II. And I started to wonder why that was. Now stick with me for a second and think about this. If the Z6 had one processor, Expeed 6, the Z6II got two of them. We did get some improvements, but there are some things that would have been nice to get that we didn't get. Let's talk on the video side. 10-bit video internally. We didn't get that. Why not? That's something that I think should have come in that camera as a standard. Anyway, maybe the rest of the market wasn't doing it, so it was on par with those guys. Not a big deal. But for raw recording, externally, you can get it. If you think about this for a second, the processor is actually inside the camera, and that is what is actually recording the codecs, right? Not the Ninja, but the camera is basically producing information, putting out to the Ninja. It's outputting the signal to the Ninja. Would the camera overheat doing that? Possibly. 10-bit raw internal, yeah, the camera probably couldn't take it. But 10-bit, I think you could take it internally. If you look at the firmware updates, the Z6 went from firmware 1 up to firmware 3 point something. And let me get a little bit technical for a second, because I started to look at this stuff, and I remember autofocus wasn't a thing in movies on the Z6, and they added it. They had face detection, and then it got eye detection, and later on it got animal face detection. So there are a few things that they've added in there, which, if you're thinking about this was on one Expeed processor, right? One. You dropped the second one in there. How much more improvement did we get? We never got 10-bit video, right? We didn't get, we did get dual card slots, so that's a plus right there. But as far as better autofocusing, why did not occur? We kept thinking, hey, they're going to tweak this thing a bit more and give us some more firmware updates to give us better eye focusing. We've seen the Z9, get a few more. We all say, hey, it's because of the Expeed 7. Could be true, but is it possible that they could have tweaked the Z6II to give it better autofocus? Some people say it's a hardware thing, not a software thing, but I think the capability was probably there. They just didn't want to put that out there just yet. And let me look at this right now. So we are on firmware 3.50 actually, and the Z6, and we're at 1.5 on the Z6II. Now let's talk about that for a second. The Z6 has to be like an awesome camera, right? It don't need like firmware version 1 and interim updates. It doesn't need a firmware 2 or even a 3. It's just like this fantastic thing. Most of us know that it isn't. And the speculation again, 2 processors. 2. Why couldn't they do some more with it? We keep hearing that more things are coming, but what is it? So what did we get significantly inside the camera? What's the benefit from the second processor? That's what a lot of us talked about in the early days, like, well, you expect big improvements, but it didn't seem to be there. If you're saying it's something with the focusing has to do with that, why didn't Nikon put a better focusing system inside the camera? I mean, you can say that the upgrade to eye autofocus in video, was a tweak for adding the second processor, make it better than the Z6. Okay, that's a plus. But what is the rest of the processor doing? What more significant thing did we get in the Z6II that the Z6 didn't have? And I mean, we've been getting more updates of the Z6 to all with the firmware 3. There have been a couple of, updates in there to give it that animal face detection. So it was there, then they turned it on later. Okay? They figured out how to do that in a camera with 1 processor. Now we have one with 2. Are we going to see them come out with an insect detection system later on, like Sony's camera does? Or animal eye? Well, I think we would have animal eye detection on the Z6II. Forgive me for that. But it makes me wonder, what more can we get from the Z6? When is it going to be like a 2.0 firmware update that'll just like radically change the camera? If Nikon keeps waiting, more and more people are going to offload the Z6II and go someplace else. Right now I'm recording on the Alpha 7R5. Yeah, Alpha 7R5, yes. And, I don't have to worry about whether or not I'm in focus. This thing tracks my eyes. It's got a flip out screen. I can see if I'm in focus or not. That's what was missing on our Z6, the flip out screen. Not talking about the eye tracking. Well, actually, the eye tracking is one of the things that I had issues with because, I did zone tracking. I did a little box thing, make sure I'm sitting in that area when I'm filming, just to make sure that, to give the camera a smaller detection area for it to focus and find my face. But yes, still, I continue to have issues. And just like I'm recording now, I'm in a hotel, the light's coming from the window. I'm a travel YouTuber at this point, doing videos. So available light is pretty much what I work with. Why was I having issues? I don't know. This lens on here is an f4 lens. I use the 24-70 f2.8. There's sometimes it works fine, sometimes it doesn't. And it's not like a lot of times when I had issue that the lighting system was low. Initially, I was blaming and say, hey, maybe because, the hotel light wasn't the greatest and so on. But I do recall some videos that I revisited and said, okay, the light was good. Why was it occurring? And you remember that last video that I did when I said, it's the reason why I'm going to finally get the A7R5 is because as I'm recording the video to talk about it, I'd actually planned to keep the camera and do research and everything, but I just got fed up and like, what, I'm done. Sold the camera and just picked up this other one and move forward. I'm talking about Nikon, so it doesn't mean that I've given up on Nikon. But like I was said in comments and videos, cameras are tools, People out there want to unsubscribe because I decided to get something that works for me. So you're telling me if you're doing a job and you don't have the right tools, the person get the right tools, you're just going to say, hey, I'm not going to use you because you're not using this particular branded tool. That's crazy in my mind, but, to each his own. But I'd love to hear what you guys think. What's your speculation on the Z6II? Do you think it's going to get some massive firmware upgrade that's going to blow our minds? Personally, I think Nikon is probably holding out on that. They want to release the other cameras first, and then they will drop these features on us, and we're like, oh crap. Oh, yeah, we took some time to tweak it, and it's out. Well, for us, it's going to be, why the hell did you even start sooner? We probably would have hung out a bit more. People are saying that these cameras are already done, they're ready, they just need volume, parts, whatever, to be able to sell them. Who knows what the reasons behind that? But I'd love to hear, what you guys think based on what I just talked about. Did Nikon hold out on us with the Z6 II? How many of you have switched? How many are thinking about switching? Who are waiting for that new Z6 III or Z8? I know we're all thinking about it. We'd love to see Nikon do well and, compete. Or, in my mind, beat the competition. Look at Panasonic. They just came out with something really good. The stability on the camera is great. The autofocusing is also great. So now they're up there and people are like, hey, their video stuff is really good. Time to jump ship from Sony and go over to Panasonic. Panasonic's been known for doing video stuff for years, more camcorder and so on. And, Sony also does camcorders, now cinema cameras, and they're incorporating that inside their mirrorless cameras, which is one of the reasons why a lot of folks are really gravitating towards these mirrorless cameras from Canon, because they do have a lot of features. Do they give us everything? No. I had preferred FX3 to this one because now that I've discovered how to, shoot in Cine EI and use their LUTs, it's actually a much better system to work with. I tried the Nikon N-Log thing and it didn't come out looking good. I had to kind of do some tweaking and fool around with it. The Sony stuff, I can do a couple, switches inside Resolve and get it looking nice. And if I want to, I can adjust it even more. I like to keep it simple and not have to do so much adjusting on the camera, which was one of the reasons why when I had the Ninja and I record with the Z6 II, I didn't really much have to worry about anything else. The Ninja basically applied a lot or whatever its setting was in the HDR mode. The image came out looking good. When I'm done, there's no tweaking it just goes. Okay, I'm gonna wrap the video. Thanks for watching, and I'd love to hear from you guys about, again, what you think Nikon is doing with the Z6 II. Are we being sandbagged?